Let's bring in Louis Riddick, the former defensive back, and he's the analyst for Monday Night Football next week. Monday Night Football Lions at the Packers. The Ravens next game Sunday night hosting the Chiefs. The Raiders next game at the Steelers on Sunday. And Louis joins us now. Louis, if I missed the game and you were trying to sum it up, could you sum it up?
Yeah, just that you couldn't put any kind of word limitation on me, though. You know what I mean? It'd be a little bit longer of a summary. But damn, you saw. What a wild night. Just wild night. I think the Raiders, for once, really, as long as they don't have anything unforeseen happen from an injury perspective or from a COVID perspective, I think they have the makings of a team, especially on the defensive side, that could really give them a respectable level of play, unlike any defense they've had since maybe John came back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference. And I think with the Ravens, I think they're going to be fine. They were playing so much so, at a deficit because of not knowing what the running back room would actually look like on game day. The offensive line hadn't played very much during the preseason. They have a new right tackle in the middle of the waiver who you saw really struggled. They know now just what they're going to have to possibly do with that. But I still think they're going to be okay because really, that game could have went either way. So I think they're going to be fine. But I think the Raiders could really have a decent team. They really could. And the key is going to be that defense.
Is Derek Carr the guy?
Yeah. I've always believed that. And you know what? The debate with him or surrounding him for his entire career has always been something that's kind of puzzled me a little bit. And I know, and this started even before he even got to Oakland. There was always been this, at first it was just the ridiculous, his brother wasn't very good. And it's like, well, who cares? What does that have to do with him? And then it was, since he struggled with some situations as far as throwing the football against pressure at Fresno, he's going to struggle with it in the NFL. I was like, But see, some of those things followed him when he went to the pros. Mm-hmm. But if you look at his career objectively and look at how he stacks up against some of the best throwers in the NFL in critical situations, whether it be fourth quarter comebacks, third down completion percentage, completion percentage in the red zone or passer rating in the red zone. This guy is right up. He's top 5, top 8 throughout the course of his career, and in particular last year. And I think he's someone who right now is so comfortable with what John is doing from an offensive perspective. He knows everything about that offense to the point where it's like they both will tell you he could probably teach it as well as John can teach it. That I think you're going to see him play. You're going to see him play the best football he's played yet. And he's going to take guys like Henry Ruggs and take guys like Brian Edwards, who was basically the hero last night, and he's going to make them better players. So that's really, I think, what's next for Derek. Not just how much further he can take his game statistically, but how much better he can make everyone around him, how much he can elevate the people around him, because that's truly how we really, when it really comes down to it, that's how we really measure greatness at the quarterback position is, numbers are numbers, and I get it, and some numbers have more importance than others, but it's really about how much better do you make your team, and how much better do you make the guys on offense as far as elevating their level of play, and he realizes that. I asked him that specific question when we talked to them before the Monday night game, and he's very aware of it, and I thought you saw it happen last night, and I think you're going to continue to see it happen.
It's not very often when I could take a highlight reel of a quarterback. I could give you like 3 or 4 or 5 plays, and it all happened in one game. But I could also give you lowlights of 3 or 4 plays, and Lamar Jackson had both of those last night.
Yep.
What do you make of his performance last night?
I think even though he wouldn't say that he felt any added pressure as far as having to play above and beyond his own standard of greatness that he's already set. But the truth of the matter is, he played last night like someone who knew that, or who felt like, I have to do something even more spectacular than what my normal standard is. And he may have at certain points in time gotten careless as far as ball security, especially when he was running, taking off, trying to pick up some extra yardage. I mean, you saw, the two crucial turnovers that the Raiders defense forced late in that game were in situations where, he's the primary ball carrier, he's in traffic, and that, it cost him. It cost him. I think he'll learn from that. He'll learn from that, and that won't happen, with a consistent level of occurrence as, one, he watches the tape from last night. Two, the offense itself really finds its identity and really starts to develop some cohesion, because it doesn't have any. Half of these guys haven't really been on the field together all preseason long for different reasons, starting off Lamar missing time because of COVID. The offensive line, they've been shuffling people around, especially in between, from guard to guard. And then they didn't play very much together. All the running back injuries, obviously. The injuries at wide receiver with Rashad Bateman and Miles Boykin not really being available to him. So I think as they all start to kind of like get it together from a health perspective and start to have some time to practice together, and Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, has an idea of exactly how he can best utilize everyone, I think you'll see Lamar's mentality shift from, I have to do everything, to just, okay, now I can just utilize what's around me. But last night, there's no question he felt like he had to do more than what was really necessary, and it cost him in crucial moments.
Were you ever in a locker room where you knew your starting quarterback was not the right quarterback for you, like the Bears situation, that Andy Dalton is there, but there's part of that locker room that probably says, put in Justin Fields. He's the best guy here. How does that work in the locker room?
Yeah, I've never been in that kind of situation with the quarterback position in particular. But I mean, you can definitely, just from a team perspective, and having been part of teams my whole life, you can understand how in the Bears locker room there's definitely going to be those who feel as though Justin needs to be in there right now. There's probably a certain part of the locker room that's a little bit louder than others as far as making that point known. And with every loss that they continue to rack up, and with every touchdown pass that Justin continues to throw and or run for, both in practice and in games, like he did the other night against the Rams, that silent, or not really silent, but that kind of vocal minority is going to become a vocal majority. And Matt's got to be very careful and make sure he has his finger on the pulse of that, because if he's got to make sure this season doesn't get away from him, from his locker room, kind of like, fracturing and splintering to the point where he can't recover it. And then, try and make a move to Justin before, and it's too late. Yeah. He's definitely got to be careful with that.
Yeah, I just wonder if Matt Nagy has that much, I'm not going to say confidence in his job, but it feels like if you were desperate, then you'd put in Justin Fields. Then you would attach yourself to your rookie quarterback and say, well, we don't want to break up that relationship. And I don't know I think they play the Lions maybe in week 5, and I was wondering if maybe that's enough time. Justin Fields gets in for a little bit, sprinkle him in there, and then all of a sudden you unveil him in a game against a substandard team. But trying to figure out that logic with a coach who's on the hot seat, you get your rookie quarterback. It almost felt like they went with the rookie quarterback because that was going to mean that the coach and GM were going to keep their jobs for a little while longer.
Yeah, I mean, when you try and really, predict how this would, potentially play out. Yeah, I could see where you feel that way, and how most people would feel that way. And quite honestly, I felt, even knowing Matt as well as I do, I thought that, at some point in time, like sooner rather than later, obviously he would turn to him too, because he didn't, he's a realist. He understands that, things are on the line, and that, obviously if you go with a young quarterback, it could wind up giving you more time as far as your, the review surrounding your job status is concerned, and that maybe he would rush that along sooner rather than later. And he has pushed back against that theory right from the get-go, Dan. He has said numerous times, and I believe him, that he doesn't care about his job status. This is really about the short and the long-term development and then sustainability of Justin Fields, of his career. That he's trying to safeguard the young man's career. He doesn't really care what happens to him, meaning if he gets fired, he's going to do the right thing. He's going to do right by the kid. And look, I mean, most people feel as though, and the whole city of Chicago feels as though they should just put him in there. And quite honestly, even being as close as I am to Matt, I feel he should put him in there. But he really does want to see what Andy Dalton can do. He really does feel as though Justin obviously doesn't have – there's something that's not making him comfortable right now to the point where he would just throw him in there, especially given the deficiencies that this offense has. And, I respect the hell out of him for doing it that way, because the scrutiny and the pressure that's being put on him right now to play that kid, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and he won't rush it until he feels as though that's the best thing for the kid, and the heck with his own job status. And I respect that.
Great broadcast last night with the guys. We appreciate you joining us as always, and have fun next week in Green Bay.
You bet.
Thank you. That's Louis Riddick, former NFL defensive back, and in the Monday Night booth with Steve Levy and Brian Griese. We'll take a break. Our play of the day is up next here on the Dan Patrick Show.